Hi, I'm Casey and I don't know what I'm doing. Today I am going to do a spring book haul. These are all the books I bought since my winter book haul that I did. I have the books that I bought before the beginning of May and then books that I bought at the beginning of May, and I absolutely went ham, and there's more in the May pile than anything else because it was my birthday, and so I went absolutely hog wild at too many places. So we're going to start with the books that I purchased before the beginning of May. First one I have here is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This one I'm pretty sure is a gender-bent retelling of Aladdin. I don't know too terribly much other than that. My husband discovered this one, and so we're going to read this together sometime, and I'm very excited. The next one I have is The 1619 Project. So it's created by Nicole Hannah-Jones. I know there are many authors and poets in here. All the works in here primarily focus on the effects of chattel slavery in this country and the long-standing impact it has had on the Black community and all of these kinds of things. This is another one that my husband and I are going to read together, and I'm very excited about. The next one I have is The Ritual by Adam Neville. This one I purchased because I can't remember where, but the movie was recommended to me, and I think my husband and I will probably watch the movie and then I'll read this book, but I don't know too much other than that, except it's been on my radar for a while and it was a good excuse to pick it up. The next one I have is What Happened to You? Conversations on Trauma, Resilience, and Healing by Bruce D. Perry and Oprah Winfrey. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a really ridiculous person, and my therapist mentioned this once, and I went out and bought it that same day. Next one I have is Gwendy's Button Box by Stephen King and Richard Chizmar. I love Stephen King. I'm really excited to get to this one, and I believe that there's a series of these novellas. I think the last one might be a full novel, and this is the first one. I'm excited to get to it. Next one I have is The Haunting of Tramcar 015 by P. Shelley Clark. I've read Ring Shout from this author. My husband was interested in some stories, some fantasy stories in particular, featuring Jinn, and I knew that this series focused on that, so we picked it up from the store. The next one I have is The Rue by Alan Baxter. This is a horror novel centered around I believe, a murderous kangaroo. I don't know, I saw the cover on Goodreads and I thought it was ridiculous, and it came in stock on Thrift Books, so I bought it. Next one I have is Madhouse at the End of the Earth by Julian Sancton. I actually got this one at Barnes & Noble. This was a blind date with a book, and it talked about being nonfiction, a little graphic, a little horror, very frightening, and I was sold, so I'm really looking forward to getting around to this one, and I really hope it kind of lives up to everything that the paper covering promised. The next book I have is The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling. I read The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling a couple years back, and I really enjoyed it, and I was able to find a used copy of a very new release of hers, and I was really excited, so I grabbed it. The next one I have is Fire of the Dark Triad by Asa Simonovich. This one looks really fun, and I'm really excited. Okay, the last one I have in this pile is A Broken Darkness by Premi Muhammad. I read The Annual Migration of Clouds, which is a novella by this author, very recently, and I think this is Lovecraftian. Yeah, this is kind of Lovecraftian horror, and I historically don't really love Lovecraftian stuff until I read The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Laval last year, and so I'm looking for more things in that sort of Lovecraftian realm, so I'm hoping that this will, be another thing I can add to the very small pile of Lovecraftian horror that I love. Okay, so moving on to books that I purchased for my birthday. This pile is really ridiculous and really large. I went a little ham. I feel like I should apologize, but I probably shouldn't. So we're just going to start diving in. We have The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. Obviously, The Exorcist is a classic American horror film, and it was I believe it was based on the novel. I don't think it was the other way around. And I believe this is also just a classic horror novel, so I'm really excited to get around to this. Next one I have is Shadowland by Peter Straub. I haven't read much from Peter Straub. I have one of his works over here. I'm familiar with him through the collaboration he did with Stephen King for The Talisman and Black House. The Talisman is one of my all-time favorite Stephen King books, and I really have wanted to get around to reading some Peter Straub just on his own, and I really couldn't resist for $3. Okay, the next one I have is one that I'm extremely excited about, and it is Memories Legion by James S. A. Corey. This is the Complete Expanse short story collection. I have been really bitter for a number of years that these have only been available on Kindle because I do not read on an e-reader. My husband has one, and I've been contemplating reading the stories off of that in the last few months, especially as I'm going through the series again. And I was so excited when I saw this at Barnes & Noble, and I waited until it was my birthday so I could finally feel like I had an excuse to pick this up, and I cannot wait to get around to this one. The next one I have is The Vegetarian by Han Kang. I know very little about this one. I have seen it everywhere. I've seen several people talk about this and talk about how creepy and unsettling it is. This is a Korean author, and I've really enjoyed a bunch of Korean horror and fiction that I have read before. And I think this is more of like literary fiction with like some horror elements, but I really am anticipating getting around to this one, and I might bump this one up really high on the list and get to it in the next month or two because it's also just a really pretty cover. Next one I have is Friday Black by Nana Kwame Aje Brenya. This is a short story collection. I had seen this on the How Society Discord. They read this one, I think, last month or the month before that, and so I know that it's got some horror in here, and I've been really loving reading some short stories lately, and I was very excited to have another one added to the collection. The next one I have is Senselessness by Horatio Castellanos Moya. This is another short story collection. I believe this was originally published in Spanish, and it has been translated into English. This was one I just saw at our local bookstore when I was running around, and honestly the cover really grabbed me. And again, short story collections have just kind of been doing it for me lately. I like to read short stories while I'm reading larger novels just to help break it up a little bit and give me a little bit of pause from it. And I am, while I'm not running short on short story collections, it is nice to have, you know, some smaller ones around as well. The next one I have is Body Shocks, Extreme Tales of Body Horror. This is an anthology series of body horror. Honestly, the cover's just really fucking cool, and it has authors that I really love in here, like Shauna McGuire, Carmen Maria Machado, Cassandra Kaw. Also, Tananarive Due has a story in here. It's an author I'm very much looking forward to reading from for the first time, and so I don't want to say that she's one of my favorite authors, but I think she has the potential to be one of my favorite authors, so I'm really excited to read one of her stories in here. The next one I have is The Vines by Christopher Rice. I honestly just bought this because I used to really love Anne Rice, and I read one Christopher Rice book when I was like 13 or so, and I remember really enjoying it, but I haven't read from him since, and so I picked this up. Primarily because it was used, but I thought it was a good excuse to pick up one of his books. The next one I have is The Strain by Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan. My husband and I watched the first several episodes, I think almost the entire first series, almost the entire first season of the television show based off of this novel, and we both really enjoyed it. Now, I did read one of their collaborative fiction works recently, The Hollow Ones, and I was very disappointed in it, but I think seeing as how we really enjoyed the TV show, I was very much willing to give these two another chance at, you know, something a little bit more impressive to me. So hopefully this one doesn't disappoint. Next one I have is The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. I have several Anne Rice books from when I was a kid. This is unfortunately one of the ones that I don't think I ever picked up. And so I found a used copy at the store, and hopefully we can get around to it sometime soon. Hopefully. The next one I have is The Dark Half by Stephen King. If I can, you know, pick up a used hardback Stephen King that I don't already own, I'm gonna do it. And I don't have this one. I don't really know what this one's about. I was just 95% positive I didn't already own this. And looking around really quickly, I was correct. Next one I have is The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. I read Slade House by David Mitchell last year, I think. I don't know. Last year was a blur. And that's kind of a companion piece to this one. And once I learned that, I was like, oh, okay, so I'm going to have to pick this up sometime. And I did, this time. Okay, continuing on, we have Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I started listening to the audiobook for this one last year, and I made it the first, I think, couple chapters in, and I kind of realized that this was a book that I was going to have much more success with if I could physically read it, just because of names and it being more of a high fantasy. I have a harder time listening to an audiobook and remembering all the facets of the world and the facets of the characters without being able to physically, you know, sort of take in that information. Just listening to it wasn't really doing it for me. But I picked up the physical book and I'm really excited about this one, just like I am every other book that I've fucking talked about, because I'm ridiculous. And hopefully we'll get around to this one soon. Okay, another anthology and short story collection. I have New Sons, original speculative fiction by people of color, edited by Nisi Shaw. This one has an introduction by LeVar Burton, which is about as far as I got on the cover, which, by the way, the cover is absolutely beautiful, and that's the entire reason I bought it. But I saw it had an introduction by LeVar Burton, and I just picked it up off the shelf, and I knew it was coming home with me. Next one I have is Along the Saltwise Sea by A. Deborah Baker. This is a companion piece for Middle Game. I know that this is the second one. The first one is Over the Woodward Wall, and we don't technically have Over the Woodward Wall, but we will probably end up purchasing it soon. But my husband and I both really absolutely adored Middle Game, and we wanted to have at least this one around to read after we did a reread on Middle Game. The next one I have is Playlist for the Apocalypse, Poems by Rita Dove. This one just has an incredible title. It was one of the major reasons I picked it up. And my husband found this in the bookstore, and he looked at one of the poems in here and he read it for me, and it was absolutely beautiful and wonderful. That's why I picked it up, and I'm excited to add this to my growing poetry collection. The next one is Remina by Junji Ito. I really love Junji Ito's work. I just finished up Censor earlier today, and I really just wanted to have another one in the wings for me to keep working towards, because I use his mangas as a goalpost, or as a reward when reaching a goalpost. The next one I have is Finna by Nino Chipri. This is one that I'm pretty sure this is set in an IKEA-esque furniture store. I think it's portal horror. So like these two people just get lost in there and keep traveling through portals. I don't know. I don't recall immediately. This is one that's been on my radar for a really long time. I've looked for it locally for about 2 years now, I think, or at least a year and a half, and I cannot find it anywhere. So I ordered it online because I really wanted it, and it was my birthday, and I deserved it. The next one I have is The Murders of Molly Southbourne by Today Thompson. This one has a really fun premise. Basically, Molly Southbourne, for as long as she can remember, anytime she bleeds, her blood creates a new Molly, and she has to kill them. And, like, her parents have been teaching her since she was a baby how to kill these versions of herself. I don't really know. That could be completely wrong, but that's my recollection of the premise, and it sounds so cool and so exciting. And Today Thompson is an author that I'm very much interested in, and I have really been wanting to get something of theirs to read for a while now, so I finally have my hands on something. The next one I have is From the Neck Up and Other Stories by Leah Whiteley. Leah Whiteley is an author I love. This cover leads me to believe that at least one of these stories in here is going to possibly tie into the beauty, but I don't know. It could just be, you know, the same or a different cover artist who have similar vibes. I don't know, but I'm really excited. It's another one for my short story collection, and yeah. Okay, and then these last three are the three I was the most excited about buying for my birthday, and you know, some of the ones that I went into book shopping with, I'm getting these books. It does not matter what, and it doesn't matter how. We have Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder. This one seems so weird and so strange, and I see so many people who pick this up on YouTube and then fucking hate it, and that just makes me want to read it more. I feel like this is going to be like the perfect kind of weird for me. I really, really am so excited, and I also love the name of the title, and I just love the cover as well. I think everything, if I had to pick, I think this is going to be one of the major 5 stars for me this year, which, you know, feels like foreshadowing of just like doom and gloom, but we'll see. The next one I have is Blood by Rachel McKibbins. This is a poetry collection. This is one that I don't know, I've just been super excited to get my hands on. I've really wanted to get my hands on it, and so I finally did it, and I'm really excited, and I think that this is probably going to break me and make me cry quite a bit, but I'm very excited to have it. And then the last book I have in all of the piles, this literally came in not even 40 minutes ago. Okay, it was a little over 40 minutes ago. It was about an hour ago. Is Mrs. Death, Mrs. Death by Selena Godden. This has one of the most beautiful covers I have ever seen, I've ever laid my eyes on. And the premise behind this is so fascinating and so interesting. I believe it is Mrs. Death is talking to a reporter who she has selected to tell her life story to. And in it, I believe in here, there's some poetry. Yeah, there's some poetry. It might be mixed media. I could be wrong on that. But it sounds so fascinating. It sounds so beautiful. And this is one that I am so excited to get around to. It is the one I am the most excited to get around to, which means I'm probably going to put it off for a while so that I can, you know, when I'm having like a bad time, I can pick this one up and be like, no, now's the time to read it. Okay, that is my spring book haul. That was a ridiculous amount of books. I will count them up and have the total somewhere. I don't really know what else to say. Do the algorithm things if you want. If not, I hope you have a good day. Don't watch this. Bye.